Township Zoning Board of Appeals for December 5th, 2022. First, why don't we start with the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Okay, call the roll. Lindsay?
Here.
John? Here. Paul's here. Matt?
Here.
And Ron? Right, Rod. Thank you. Okay. Is there any conflict of interest?
Nope.
Seeing none, we'll move on. Approval of the agenda.
I moved that we approve the agenda as written.
Support.
Okay. That's approved by Rod and supported by Matt. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, approval of the minutes.
Make a motion they are approved as presented. Saw no changes in it.
I'll support that.
Okay, moved by John and seconded by Rod. Is there any, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Okay. All right, public comment for anything not on the agenda this evening. And we'll start that at, looks like about 6:32. Not seeing any, we'll close it at 6:33. Okay, any correspondence? Okay. All right, to the business at hand. We're going to be dealing with Appeal 1022, which is River Road East Investments, owner of a parcel of land commonly known as property identification number 2803-215-03700 in the low-density residential zoning district. The requested variance asks that the private road for this development, which is the Holiday Forest Phase 2, not meet the required 66-foot easement requirement under Section 223.4, and is instead requesting a 36-foot variance to make a 30-foot wide easement for the road due to the topographical challenges. Okay. So with that, Preston, Claire?
I will defer to Claire for an opening overview of this.
Yeah, so I just wanted to be here. Good evening. I just wanted to give you just a quick context, because this has been before the Planning Commission, as well as the Township Board, quite a few times over the past couple of years. So the applicant is proposing to add an additional 33 units, residential condominium units, to an existing subdivision in Holiday Hills area. So this was in front of the Township Board. So back in September of 2021, the Board of Trustees approved this just as a traditional site condo development with a total of 25 units. And this development didn't move forward due to a variety of factors, but most notably it was the topographical challenges. And in talking with our engineer, he's told me there's a reason that this site hasn't been developed. It's sat vacant for a long time. I'm sure you all saw that this evening. It's got some real steep topography and some kind of challenges from a developmental standpoint. So in October, the applicant came back in front of the Planning Commission. That was October of this year, and presented a little different plan. It's more units, so it went from 25 up to 23. And what they're looking to do is use a provision in the zoning ordinance under Section 225, which is the cluster, residential cluster condominium subdivision, which allows some flexibility, reduced lot widths, reduced lot sizes in exchange for more open space preservation. So the Planning Commission reviewed, and Paul, feel free to jump in if I miss anything, but the Planning Commission reviewed that generally was favorable to the idea. They came in for a sketch plan review and back again for a formal hearing in October, was generally favorable of the development, but had concerns about future parcels seeking variances, specifically front yard variances. So wanted to know, are all of these units developable? And if not, are they going to be coming back and seeking variances? And so kind of staff's guidance to the applicant was, you should put something in your condominium docs that basically say, you can't, the future homeowners would not be allowed to seek a variance, because we don't want, a 10-foot driveway or something that, a truck or vehicle couldn't fit in. So the applicant is coming back to the township and seeking basically a reduced road, private road right-of-way, and that's down to 30 feet as opposed to the 66 feet. And I guess Wade Trim reviewed it, generally didn't have concerns from a kind of utility standpoint, safety standpoint, private road standards standpoint. They said that there would need to be easements, obviously, in place for utility, and that all of those easements wouldn't be contained in the public or the private road right-of-way, but they didn't have concerns, significant concerns with that. I also went ahead and just took a look at, I wanted to compare that driveway length with what other neighborhoods in the township had, because there was concern about having driveways that were too short that could cause safety concerns. So like Holiday Forest Phase 1, those driveways are 45 to 80 feet in length is kind of the range. What this is proposing is 35 to 75 feet. So it's so the lower end is about 10 feet shorter with what they're proposing. But then I looked at Pine Grove neighborhood. I also looked at some of the post-World War II subdivision neighborhoods in Traverse City that had, no sidewalks and were kind of developed in that same kind of development pattern. And you'll see that those are closer to what they're proposing. So like 35 feet at the low end, up to 80 feet at the higher end. So I guess, from staff's perspective, would be comfortable with that driveway length from a kind of safety access. You can't store, multiple vehicles probably, but you could fit, a truck in there and 2 side-by-side vehicles. So just kind of wanted to provide you with that context. You'll see there was a letter from Wade Trim that's on your desk, and that was the basis for Preston's packet that he put together to go through the conditions.
Don? Any questions for Claire?
I had one. I was just curious, on the cover sheet for, in the packet for the request here, let's see, hang on, let me see if I can find which page it is, and I'll tell you. It states that there's a 30-foot setback, front yard setback requirement, is that right? Maybe I'm not understanding this, but it says there's a 30-foot setback, and Wade Trim's letter mentions a 20-foot setback.
I think Wade Trim was noting there's going to be a 20-foot easement right-of-way on both sides, and so, for utilities. And I think that was the setback that they were referring to for the 20
Okay.
feet.
Okay.
I have a question, actually, more curiosity, looking at the drawing that we had, and the road, and this may be for you or for but as it comes around, it cuts off, and then there's a section of the road that spurs off, and it's for the houses number, looks like 56, 58, 54, that little piece that comes down. And it just ends right there. Is there any turnaround on that road? Is there like a cul-de-sac being planned?
Yeah, I could answer that, but I think I'll defer to the applicant, I think, and Bill, yeah, feel free
Okay.
to.
Bill Crane, Crane Engineering, representing Holiday Forest Phase 2.
Yeah.
Yes, actually, in the location in between units 58 and 59, there's going to be a T-turnaround for emergency services. So it'll actually come down to a dead end, but actually splitting the unit lines of 58 and 59, there is going to be a turnaround. It's called a hammerhead turnaround, but it's acceptable for emergency services, fire department, ambulance, to service that stub line and not have to back all the way out. They can back in and then turn around to that hammerhead turnaround.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions?
So, yeah, for me, and I don't know, are we just asking questions now, or is this, you're going to have a,
Well, if we're done with this, we can have the applicant come up now.
okay, yeah, I
Okay.
can wait till then.
All right. So if there's not any other questions for Claire, I'll ask the applicant.
Bill Crane again. Not a lot more to say. Claire pretty much covered it. Claire and Preston. The proposal is for a reduced right-of-way, 30-foot wide, which will then also have a 20-foot utility easement on both sides of the proposed right-of-way, which would be used for sewer, water, gas, electric, all your utilities. So a 30-foot easement and then 20-foot on either side to encompass that. We will be meeting the 30-foot front setback as required by the ordinance from the reduced right-of-way. We will connect to the existing road on the west and the east, and then we have that small little spur road heading toward the south for future development as part of the requirement of the township ordinance. Yeah, like I said, the homes will be set back a minimum of 30 foot from the proposed 30-foot wide right-of-way with easements on both sides. And then I can answer any more questions that you have. And it kind of, well, the small ones, there is a small little detail here that kind of shows we've got the gray would be the road, and then the first dark line is the 30-foot wide right-of-way, and then from there is the 30-foot front setback, which each of the homes would meet the minimum requirement for the building setback for the ordinance.
Pat?
Yeah, I think I understand. So the landscaping requirements, there's trees kind of noted, I guess, at the property corners on each of the lots. Are those trees outside of the right-of-way, but inside of the utility easement?
They're at the outside of the utility easement.
Okay.
So it'll be set back roughly 20 foot from the road. And that's just to ensure that trees aren't planted over the utility lines, water, sewer, and that's per the township.
Okay.
Okay. Rod? Okay.
Now I don't have anything.
Okay. Lindsay?
I'm good, thank you.
John?
Nothing right now?
Okay. Thank you. We'll open it up for public comment at about 7:45, let's call it. And seeing none, we'll close public comment, 7:45. Okay. Back to the group. Any questions, thoughts? Yes, sir.
Claire, you mentioned that in the condominium docs would be something that they would have to meet the setbacks and couldn't apply again. Is that in play or not in play, or is that we just request that, or how does that work? I mean,
Yeah, I would anticipate that will be a condition of approval by the planning commission.
okay,
You can have that as a condition of approval for this variant, or it's not for this variance, but, yeah, for this variance.
For this
but
variance,
future,
right.
You know, future front yard setback variances cannot be,
so that we don't have to
we don't have, yeah.
30 more or something.
Yeah, just, and that ensures some continuity with the development and, you know, consistent setbacks, so I think that would be a reasonable condition.
And I guess I've got a question. So the standard is a 66-foot right-of-way. What's there's got to be some reasoning behind that. What is the 66-foot standard based off of?
So I've talked, in my conversations with Wade Trim, they, you know, I think that's based off of traditionally the way public roads have been constructed, and I would think that, you know, that's to accommodate utilities, easements, as well as, you know, potentially sidewalks and other public amenities within that right-of-way.
Okay.
So, I mean, it really depends on the scale of the road, the number of lanes. There's a lot of
How many, how much is that 66-foot a standard? Is that just an East Bay standard or a
It's
Grand?
pretty typical across the board, but you'll see, I mean, public roads, the 66-foot standard is very typical. I mean, some of the larger highways have, you know, 75 feet, 100-foot right-of-way, but just your traditional country roads, 66 is pretty standard. I think private roads, there's more variation.
You said you looked into driveway lengths. Did you look into, like, do we have any precedents here in the township for having a variance for the right-of-way width in other developments?
I haven't seen this type of variance granted.
Okay. And we were talking about it on site. The leg that connects these 7 units to the adjacent vacant parcel, sounds like there was some discussion maybe with Brian that would, the variance to the right-of-way was going to be there as well, and I would assume that if someone wanted to develop a vacant parcel in the future, they might ask for that condition to flow through that next development as well, regardless of what the site conditions were.
Potentially. You mean to the,
Yeah, I guess to the west, south, I'm sorry, yep.
yeah, that's a potential. I think that, you know, it's important for you to take a look at the standards and make sure that the standards are met. I think that there is unique topographical challenges in this case, and, you know, oftentimes there aren't, but there, you know, each one would be looked at a case-by-case basis.
Right. And we talked about it a little bit out there on site. It sounds like this property was kind of prepped for development some time ago, 2007, 2008, I think is what the applicant had mentioned, and that didn't move forward. And so I'm assuming there was a plan in place at that time. It didn't move forward. Maybe the property changed hands, and now here's the new proposal. But this, you're saying that what we're looking at here is different than what was approved in 2021?
It's similar, but it's more units. So it
Okay.
was, I think it was 25 units was approved in 2021. This is 33. Previously, the Planning Commission had approved, I can't remember what year it was, it might have been 2018. I think the Planning Commission approved about 30 units also here. So this has been through multiple iterations of township approval, and I believe under the same ownership. Always. Yeah, under the same ownership,
Okay.
and just has not come to fruition for, you know, various barriers.
Okay.
Claire, you're saying that the 60-foot right-of-way is for public roads. This will be staying private road, correct? Like other subdivisions, I'm thinking of the one I live in, is not a 66. I mean, Aaron Glen is not that wide. It's a private, but it's still very nice sub. So, I mean, that's where I'm wondering is, you know, if the differentiation is in that public versus private.
It could, yeah, I mean, you might have a narrow road and your right-of-way might be, and I don't know exactly what
Yeah.
your right-of-way is, but if it was built to township standards, it probably is 66 feet, but the road might feel narrow enough. That it's, you know,
'Cause that was built back in 2000, and that's where I'm wondering if some of this 66, Bill, you mentioned that it's changed over the years. Because Forest, Phase 1 is narrower, right?
No, Phase 1 is 66 feet
It is
wide
60.
with-
Okay.
But our road widths, the width of the asphalt is going to be comparable from Phase 1 to Phase 2. It's just the easement itself. It's going from 60.
Okay.
The
okay.
pavement is going to be the same, but the right-of-way is just narrower. I mean, it's going to look the same, it's going to feel the same with drivability and vehicles, walking. I mean, it's all going to be the same as Phase 1 versus Phase 2. It's just, yeah, the right-of-way is narrower, but we're providing 20-foot easements on both sides to account for utilities.
All right, thank you for that clarification.
So really, the variance in this case is to accommodate an overlap of setback and the utility easement. Okay.
What utilities are you putting through there? Is that going to be, obviously electric, but,
Yeah, public sewer, public water.
Okay.
And then electric, gas, cable, whatever's the services in the area.
okay, so it's not something that, in the future, there'd be something that we need to address, but it looks like you got it covered at this point. Thanks. Come.
My name is Bill Klaus. And the reason that we're requesting the variance is because of the topography on the north side of the site. And the setbacks for front yard go from the edge of right-of-way. So one of the meetings ago at the Planning Commission, when we were here, we were trying to get a public road put in place, but we can't accommodate that because we can't meet their slope requirements. That's been changed since Phase 1. So then I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe that the Planning Commission had suggested that we go ahead and get the project approved. And after it's approved and built, then when we go to build the homes, we come back here and ask for a variance for front setback because we cannot build on the north side of the road with the topo the way that it is, with a 66-foot right-of-way as compared to a 30, so there's 18, 66, 30, yeah, there's 18 feet of right-of-way with your standard 66-foot right-of-way on the north side, and then our front yard setback starts from there. If you grant our request tonight for our variance, then, like Bill said, the pavement's the same width, the road's the same, other than for the edge of private road right-of-way is 18 foot closer to the pavement. So then our front yard setback starts from that point that is overlapping the 20-foot wide utility easement area. So therefore, and I've studied every one of the lots on the north side of the road, well, all of them, but especially on the north side, and if you were to grant this variance, we can actually build those homes on the north side. There's been nothing drawn yet that would accommodate the ability to build the homes on the north, on all the lots on the north side of the road, other than this proposal. So it is truly topography. Thank you.
Thank you.
And I think you'll notice, or you'll see in terms of just kind of from a land use perspective and neighborhood design, that this configuration is similar to some of the post-World War II subdivisions that zoning was not in place, and so they have, the setback is not as deep, so even though it might still have the 66-foot road right-of-way, the houses are closer to the road, resulting in those shorter driveways. So, the development pattern might have come about with a different set of regulations, but I think it to me, is comparable to those types of developments.
I like it. I think Metro's sign-off, says a lot. I think it maximizes the use of the parcel with the interesting topography. and, you know, it fulfills a housing need aside from that, so.
Thank you.
One question, and maybe this is more of an engineering-related question, but considering that we're kind of constraining that space between the physical homes and the road, there's going to be utility easement. I'm assuming the utilities are going to basically run through people's front yards. You know, is there a constraint or, I don't know, a danger in having, you know, public sewer too close that in the future, say 20 years from now, if we had to, if the township had to hire somebody to go in and do some work there, that now, you know, houses are going to be too close to an excavation, a deep excavation, and there's got to be mitigation efforts taken because of the constrained space there versus like the standard right-of-way?
Yeah, and I think that was part of staff's concern and why we had Wade Trim take a look at it. And so I think they looked at that and were comfortable with that distance and the feasibility of, you know, with the assumption that there could be a time in the future where utilities need to be dug up and
Okay.
and worked on. And so they were comfortable with that configuration and distance.
Good question.
Okay. Fair. And last question for the applicant, just because I'm curious, I can't see on either of the drawings. Right next to Unit 58, there's like a black hatched rectangle right near the end of the property. What is that?
That is the.
That's
pump-
that turnaround.
That's the pump station. It's a
pump
public
station.
pump station, because everything's gonna flow to that point, and then it's gonna get pumped back up to, there's an existing manhole right in this location here.
Okay,
So this is all gonna have gravity sewer down to here, this is all gonna have gravity sewer, and then this is gonna be a pump chamber that's gonna actually pump it back up into the existing gravity sewer that flows to the north.
okay. So where we parked, it heads the other
That's
direction?
correct.
Okay,
Yep.
okay. Is it going to be like in front of the house like that?
Yes.
It will, wow. And I think it's the last question I got, I'm just kind of curious. These are going to be condos, right? So they're going,
It'll be
site condo.
Single-family residential units.
What's the, you know, is the developer going to move forward with building all these as sort of spec condos and selling them, or are they going to be sold over time?
Yes.
Yes, both?
Yes.
Okay,
We build more spec homes than anybody that I'm aware of in northern Michigan.
okay,
And we also build, we're about 50/50, build to suit and spec.
okay,
We always need homes ready to go for people coming to the area or people that just sold their home.
sure,
And then we do an equal amount of build to suit.
okay, okay, fair, all right.
John?
No, I think I'm good. I think it's, you know, I like to see the additional common space in the area too for people to use. You know, that's kind of gives a little bit more common space in this, by moving everything forward toward the road a little bit, so I like that. But I'd be in favor of it. I don't see a problem with this.
Great. Rod, anything else?
I think he's answered all my questions, so.
Cool.
Thank you.
Matt?
No.
All right. Yeah, I did notice that in the Wade Trim comments, they indicated that this could be more of the future based upon what's going on in the township, so. Okay.
And I do think that as we update our zoning ordinance, we're going to be looking at our private road standards and whether or not 66 feet for the required right-of-way is appropriate for all new roads. And so that's probably something that our consultants will take a look at and recommend and let us know if we're on.
Yeah, I think that's something we've got to look at. So, great. Okay. Do we have a motion on this issue?
I would make a motion that all 7 of the basic requirements are fulfilled on this, and I believe all 3 of the special were also
Correct.
fulfilled on this. So based on that and the staff recommendations, I make a motion to approve the variance.
I'll second that with the comment. Did we want to put that condition to be consistent with the planning commission about the front setback? We'd mentioned that earlier.
Oh, there'll be no more variances for that, for the setbacks?
Correct.
And I would amend my motion to include that.
I'll support.
Okay, motion by John to accept and seconded by Lindsay for the approval of the variance, given all issues noted by Wade Trim, as well as the additional issue of the incorporation in the condo documents, I believe. Is that the condo documents? For setting the rules and regulations around the future setbacks. Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye. I'm good, sorry, I was reading something else.
I'm confused. Are you saying you're for?
No, I, yes.
Yeah.
Yes,
Okay,
support the variance.
all right. All right. That's approved unanimously then. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Thank you.
I appreciate everything. Thank you. As soon as we get it.
All right, we're at reports. Matt?
So we had a board meeting last month. Really, a lot of the time was spent on the short-term rental moratorium, which everybody's probably aware of. So with some discussion on the amendment, quite a bit of discussion. Updated the budget, went through the public hearing, talked about getting an updated personnel manual and some auditing services. But I'd say the 90% of it was focused on short-term rental. Fun.
Okay. As far as the planning and zoning is concerned, on our last meeting, we've had actually two meetings. The first one was the standard meeting that we approved a site plan review for a daycare center at the Pine Grove Church area. They bought an additional property, and they're going to be using that as daycare, and then keeping the church as the church. And then secondly, we approved at the PGO's restaurant area that additional building that they will be able to create some residence facilities for the workers there. So that was approved. And then at a special meeting, we had discussion around the ordinance audit and discussed the procedures that's going to be followed. That's it. Okay. Okay, we will call for the second public comment, but seeing nobody here, we'll close the public comment. So, all right. Upcoming meeting dates, next week, I believe, December 13th, and Preston, you want to talk about that?
Yeah, next week will be Port Traverse TC Water Sports hearing in front of the board again. My intent is to stay after this meeting to go over any questions that you might have on the history leading up to next week's meeting. And then at that meeting, we'll also adopt 2023's calendar as well for meeting dates.
Super. Okay. And then last but not least, just say hello to Trenton, who was with me at the far end of the other side of the parcel, the property tonight. So, but with that, this meeting's adjourned. Thank you.